basically we've got record numbers of asylum applications. The backlog has never been as big as it's been in recent years. And what Labour are doing are just basically stamping claims saying, approve, 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 you can stay. And then they're returning, 7,000, 8,000 people and say, well, look, the returns have never been bigger. But they're gaslighting the British people. And Winston, I'm very concerned because if more than 50,000 illegal migrants are going to come in the rest of 2025, which is the forecast, what on earth is this country going to look like as we get closer to the 2029 general election, with Labour refusing to actually do what needs to be done to fix the borders? I think Keir Starmer has completely lost control of this issue. He doesn't get it. It's a national security issue, and it needs to be dealt with urgently.
Yeah. So let's hone in then on the channel crossings, right? So you've said some of the numbers, and you have also suggested that the reason it's increased is because Starmer put the kibosh in the Rwanda deal program.
That's one of the reasons.
That's one of the reasons. What are the other reasons?
We're soft touch. Our welfare regime is basically way too generous. We allow anybody who makes it here illegally to stay in the country. There was an interesting investigation by the Sun newspaper recently where a journalist posed as an illegal migrant from Afghanistan, and within minutes was delivering takeaways for Just Eat. We have an economy that allows illegal migrants to basically work in the black economy. We have a political system that gives people incentives to come over. Thomas Sowell once said, immigration laws are the only laws that are ever discussed in terms of how to help people break them. And that is exactly what is happening today. Starmer, the Tories too, by the way, they completely failed on this issue. We have a political system that is allowing people to break our laws. So we become a soft touch. Do you think for a second this would happen in Arab states, that people would allow this degree of law breaking?
Well, it happened in America under Biden. But maybe we can talk about how Trump's success and failures dealing with it might guide us in Britain. But just so your argument then for Starmer being encouraging the border crossings is that there are incentives on the other side once they get here, as well as the Rwanda deal. Is that
we don't detain and deport. We should be detaining and deporting everybody who arrives here illegally, and we should be processing them offshore, which is what the Rwanda plan was going to do. The problem with the Rwanda plan is it didn't quite establish the supremacy of UK law. Some of those illegal migrants could have still claimed against it using European conventions and laws. My argument is, if you arrive illegally, detain, deport. If you're already here illegally, deport. That is a policy, by the way, supported by the vast majority of British people. Everybody in Westminster will raise their hands and say, oh my God, I can't believe what Matt Goodwin's just said. We need to be deporting all of these people. Who on earth supports that? 81% of Brits in a survey just said they want all foreign criminals removed from the UK. We have over 10,000 foreign criminals in our prisons. The British public are way more on side with this than their politicians would like to think.
Okay, so deport to where?
Well, firstly, those that we can deport back to their countries of origin, we do so. Take an example like Pakistani Muslim rape gang members, dual nationals who are here, who have broken our laws, go back to Pakistan. If Pakistan doesn't take them, we use visa penalties, we start using foreign aid. We say, well, why are we giving you £133 million in a year? Why are we giving you this many visas? If you're not going to take back these guys, well, we're going to start playing hardball, which is actually, by the way, is what Trump is doing. So we should not be having people coming into our country breaking our laws. They need to go. So in order to So countries that we are paying foreign aid to, we would use that as leverage against them and say you have to take them. That's one of the things we could do.
What are the other ways?
I would argue what we are basically going to need in this country, what all of this is building up to, is a complete reshaping of the institutional legal architecture that surrounds our political system. We need to leave the European Convention on Human Rights, the ECHR, so we can deport foreign criminals, and we can deport illegal migrants who are currently using Articles 3 and 8 of the ECHR to stay in the country. As a consequence of that, we need to reform Tony Blair's Human Rights Act, which entrenches the ECHR into domestic UK law. We need to radically reform the welfare regime so we are not a soft touch for people who break our laws. And we need to establish a new principle in this country, which is what I would call a principle of national preference. It is the hard-working, law-abiding, tax-paying British people who are put first, not people who break our laws and have only been in the country for 2 minutes. It's that principle of national preference, treating taxpayers, treating citizens with the respect they deserve. I'm going to give you one example. You tell me, Winston, how is it right or fair that we have just heard about a case to do with an Albanian criminal, drug dealer, robber, thief, has 50 convictions, 50 convictions, was imprisoned in Italy, came to the UK, and then used our immigration tribunal system to stay in the UK. Why is that person in our country? Why is our immigration system and why are our judges and lawyers working to keep those people in our country? And, there are horrific examples. I could give you dozens of examples, but the one that sticks in my mind is the Afghan illegal migrant who came to the UK, told state authorities he was 14 years of age, was put into a local secondary school alongside British children. Even a dentist at the time was saying, there's no way this guy's 14. Turns out he was 19 and had already killed 2 men in, I think it was Serbia, and went on to kill a young lad, British lad called Thomas Roberts, who was an aspiring Marine. He wanted to join the Marines. And in Bournemouth, this Afghan illegal migrant killed Thomas Roberts with a machete. Why are these people in our country? That's my view. Why are these people in our country? If we do not control the borders and stop these people from coming in, the social contract will break down. And that's my bigger concern, that actually this isn't really about illegal migration in that sense. It is about the social contract whereby people are willing to trust the system. They're willing to pay into the system, to pay tax, to do their bit, to contribute to the collective pot. If you keep subjecting the British people to this insanity, to this experiment, they will withdraw their support for the system, which is, by the way, what we saw in the aftermath of Southport. That is what we saw in the aftermath of the Southport atrocities, where basically there wasn't an organised far-right conspiracy. As we now know from the police constabulary reports, it was actually much more troubling for the establishment. It was organic. It was ordinary men and women protesting about these failing policies of mass uncontrolled immigration, broken borders, all of which have brought the likes of Axel, Ruda Cabana, and many other evil people into our country. And the Brits have had enough.
We've seen that brewing for a long time. And if you were paying attention, what happened in Knowsley the beginning of 23 was that there was someone caught, a migrant from a migrant hotel was caught on video making a pass at a young teenage local girl, and the police failed to deal with it, and then riots broke out there. It was exact precursor to what happened in 2024, a month after Starmer came to power. It's like the utter failure to deal with this situation. All these migrants get dumped in the most deprived parts of Britain, and it's, as you say, mainly men, and they do all sordid things with
and here's the important point many people out there won't realise. It's not just these isolated examples. The evidence now shows that mass uncontrolled immigration is driving crime. We know, thanks to freedom of information requests that have been submitted by independent campaigners, that foreign nationals in this country are twice as likely as Brits to be arrested and convicted of crimes, and are 3.5 times more likely than Brits to be arrested for rape and sexual offences. We know that from freedom of information requests. Afghans, Eritreans, specific groups are up to 20 times more likely than the British people to be arrested for those offences. Now, so here's my question. I have 2 questions for the state. 1, why are you not releasing this information to people? Why is it taking independent campaigners to submit freedom of information requests? Because you tell us we're misinformed. Keir Starmer tells us it's misinformation. Yvette Cooper tells us it's disinformation. Well, if you're accusing people of that while simultaneously refusing to share information about what is actually happening in British society, that is deeply unfair and hypocritical. Let's get all the data onto the table, because the data that we have, the information that we have, shows that mass immigration is driving crime. It shows that mass immigration is bad for the economy. It's taking more out of the collective pot than it's putting in. Even the Office for Budget Responsibility now quietly accepts that. And so what I think we have in this country is a political and expert class that views pro-immigration, their support for mass immigration, as a religion. They are basically fanatical about it, even when the evidence shows very clearly this policy is driving up crime, driving up rents and property prices, driving up poverty and making our economy weaker, and also making the social contract, the social fabric weaker and more vulnerable.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Winston Marshall Show. You can click here to watch the full episode. And for more clips like this one, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, be well.